I've said this many times on this show. There's several people I'm slightly in awe of when I started this job. Next, former Home Office Minister, I bow down, Anne Widdecombe. Good morning.
Morning to you.
You always look. I always feel like I'm looking down. Like you're looking up at me. Are you comfortable, Anne?
I'm very comfortable. Are you comfortable, gentlemen?
Not really, no. But we can't talk about why.
No, well, we live in Britain, don't we?
Precisely. You can pick. I'm going to let you pick because there's three topics that are causing massive anger this morning, Anne. You can talk about Keir Starmmer, the duplicitous git who's gone to China. You can talk about the anti-patriotic Brits who are pulling down the flags, or the one-in, one-out shambles. Where do you want to start, Anne Widdecombe?
Well, let's start with the migrants, shall we? Because right from the start, it was predicted by sensible people that one in, one out wasn't going to work. And what is happening is we are still getting, as you rightly say, hundreds, sometimes thousands coming over. They have to be housed, they have to be fed, they have to be looked after, and there is no question of sending as many back as we take. And I said right at the start, I said, even if it worked, supposing it was one in, one out, that doesn't actually help us because it doesn't reduce the overall numbers. But it isn't one in, one out. It's hundreds in and a couple out.
It's farcical, and I think even Shabana Mahmood yesterday highlighted something that anybody with a common sense bone in their body would know. As you rightly say, that's not going to deal with the problems. It's more window dressing. It's to me, and it's like, we're going to smash the gangs, we're going to do one in, one out, we're going to give the French 500 million quid. The only way, surely, to get this under control, and I keep using this word this morning, is to discover politicians with the will. The verve, the desire. And if it takes the Navy in the Channel, if it takes a detention centre that isn't the Ritz, if it takes hard graft of making more deals with more countries for returns, then bloody well give me a politician who says he'll do or she will do that. That's all.
Well, I can. I'll give you Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
The first and most important thing is that we come out of ECHR. That is crucial, because so long as we don't do that, there are going to be legal challenges and the lawyers are going to get very fat indeed on thwarting the government. So the first thing we do is come out of ECHR, and Reform has made it very clear that that is a top priority and will be done with all possible...
So have the Tory party. They say it's in their manifesto now. What's your response to that? They say they will leave the ECHR.
Well, they play catch-up. They spent 14 years giving us all the reasons why we couldn't leave ECHR. And then as soon as Reform announced that we are actually going to do it because we know that we can do it, suddenly the Tories discover that it can be done. So what they're doing is playing catch-up. But that is the first thing that is necessary. Then the second thing that is necessary is that you don't house illegal migrants in the community, in houses of multiple occupation or in hotels. What you do is you house them in secure detention centres.
Yeah.
Look at Crowborough. It's not secure. And yet it's going to take a very large number of migrants, and it's not secure. You house them in secure detention centres. You tell them on the shore that their claim for asylum won't even be examined because they patently obviously come from a perfectly safe country, and therefore we will not entertain an application for asylum. So you've got refusal, then you've got detention, and then the last stage, of course, is deport. And that is what the policy has to be. And Jeremy, yes, of course it's littered with difficulty, but it's a long, long way from impossible. And we have to get on with it. And you're quite right. I've been using that expression, will, for a very long time. You need politicians with the will.
I couldn't agree more. And I struggle to understand how a country like ours can't form a crack force of people who can actually see through all these pathetic excuses. I think we need a government also that will take control of these human rights lawyers who charge the taxpayer thousands to find some old-fashioned law from 200 years ago. We need to stand up for ourselves. Talking of that, Nikki in Bristol, Anne, no respect for our flag, then don't enjoy the freedoms that come with our country. This is This Talk exclusive. This morning, Anti-patriotic Brits have launched a coordinated campaign to rip down Union Jacks put up over the summer. The flag-hating group, operating on social media, for Christ's sake, has created a live map pinpointing the exact locations of the flags in a bid to remove them. Great work by Isabel Oakeshott. Why are we, Anne Widdecombe? You were a Home Office minister. You were a stalwart for years. How have I ended up living in a country where government buildings, for example, will fly the European flag, they'll fly the Gaza flag, the Palestinian flag, the I'd like to have my hair done flag, but apparently the Union Jack or the George Cross or whatever is racist or inflammatory or divisive. I think divisive. I think it's an absolute outrage, mate. I really do. Terrible.
Well, I agree with you. To be perfectly fair, you do get Union Jacks flying from government buildings. And you, particularly whenever you have a state visit, you know, the whole mall is covered with Union Jacks. So it isn't that the government doesn't fly the Union Jack, but you have a group in society who seriously think that any demonstration of patriotism is somehow a demonstration of nationalism. And of course, it's not. And my answer to this is simple. OK, so they take down the flags, then they move on. You come along behind them, put the flags up again.
Have you got a flag flying in Shea Widdecombe outside?
I haven't got a flagpole and a flag flying, no. But I always do wave a Union Jack around when it's appropriate.
Good for you. The other story today centres on our boss, I say, the human rights guru, Sir Keir Starmer, who it was only in December, Anne, when he stood up and he said that he thought that China was a danger in terms of security and in terms of the power they were trying to exude across the world. We'll know that in the last couple of weeks he's allowed this, I'm going to call it not a super embassy, a super spy chamber to be built in London. He's off to, in front of the papers actually, in front of the Telegraph today, saying, we will be safer and richer with China's help, which just about sums up how he goes around in circles. But this is surely all about, he says, a trade deal that's only necessary with people we can't trust, because he and his team are going with burner phones, because his own party have been so economically illiterate that growth hasn't happened, the opposite has happened, and our economy is on its backside. Isn't that the reason he's kowtowing to China?
Well, I don't know what the reason is that he's kowtowing to China, because China is undeniably a danger. But on the other hand, you confront danger with diplomacy where you can. I don't object per se to the Prime Minister going to China, but the real test is what he says, what he does, and any agreements that come out of it. That is the real test. And frankly, I don't trust him to stand up for Britain.
Isn't that, you know, if we just take 30 seconds, you and I can't imagine that has ever been said about any Prime Minister, and I've disagreed with many. We don't trust him. We don't believe he's for us, the people, and for Great Britain. I've had more texts on this morning than anything, all saying, what part of Britain's he going to give away? He pontificates and rushes around the world as this human rights law, giving away the Chagos Islands and, what was it, £16 billion worth of money to look good with his mate Herma, whilst his own people at home, they're not starving, but they're struggling. And it astounds me, Anne, that he's so tone deaf, or his advisors are so inept, that he doesn't realise the level of anger.
Yes, I mean, that's absolutely right. It is ineptitude. You choose the right word. It's not deliberate treachery. It is just sheer ineptitude and tone deafness. And he isn't hearing what people are saying. And that is why there are so many U-turns, Jeremy. It's because eventually his own ministers are forced to force him to change his mind, because they occasionally, only occasionally, do hear what is being said and understand the damage that is being done. But the sooner they're out, the better, and I'm afraid we've got another 3 years of it.
We can finish in a light-hearted way, because you, of all people, will smile at me. Shabana Mahmood yesterday said that the naughtiest thing she's ever done is taking a drag on a cigarette. In 2017, Theresa May said the naughtiest thing she'd ever done was running through fields of wheat. Anne Widdecombe, what's the naughtiest thing you've ever done?
I dressed up as a ghost along with another girl, and we walked through, I went to a convent boarding school, we walked through the convent at midnight. What we didn't understand and didn't know was that a nun was dying at that time, and of course we gave everybody a terrible fright.
Oh, Anne Widdecombe, story of the morning. We love having you on, my sweetheart. Thank you so much indeed. Anne Widdecombe, former Home Office Minister on Talk.